Hello, the internet. Matthew here. I'm talking with my buddy Joe Brennan today,
What's going on, guys?
and we're here to talk, well, a lot of really cool stuff today.
Appreciate it.
So, Joe, I want to first of all thank you very much for agreeing to this interview.
Absolutely, it's my pleasure. Seriously, it is.
All right.
I love it.
All right. So, well, Joe is okay. We discussed this. An amateur bodybuilding competitor.
Yes.
Okay, that's the proper way to
Yes,
phrase it.
Not a pro.
Not a pro. Comparatively, you're in a category all by yourself. But
Appreciate that, man. Thank you. I
yeah,
do.
well, actually, you just had a competition, right?
Yes, I did. This coming Saturday, which is Wednesday today, it would be 6 weeks. I just had my competition. Yeah.
Okay, and which competition was that?
It was the New York Capitol. It was in Albany, and this was an NPC event, which is the amateur division. Once you turn pro, obviously you get your pro card, then you compete in the IFBB. But since I'm still an amateur, I still compete through the NPC.
Okay, and what category were you competing in?
I compete in classic physique, so it's kind of like right in the middle. Bodybuilding, huge, massive, biggest of the biggest guys, and then physique guys are a little bit smaller. They're wearing the board shorts. I'm not saying they don't train their legs, but they don't really have to because
That's not what the focus is.
Yeah, they're more like a beach body kind of style.
All right.
And classic physique is in the middle, where almost guys are what they looked like back in the 70s and 80s.
I was gonna say,
big, muscular, ripped, but not to what it is today, really. Yeah.
Okay. All right, and you placed, I believe.
I did, yes. So I did first place in juniors, which juniors, for anyone who doesn't know or follow it, is anyone 23 and under. You can compete in juniors, and I'm 22 years old. I placed first place in novice, which if you've never won your class in any event before, and this is my second show, so I haven't.
Okay.
I placed first place in my novice class, and then I placed second place in the open out of all the competitors, basically. Yeah. Appreciate it.
that is really cool.
Yeah.
And so that's the entire state.
Well, that's not the entire state.
Not the
This
entire
was
state.
just this is just the name of one of the shows. So we
Okay.
had, I couldn't think of the amount of people that competed at the show, but it was a decent size show. But it's not like everyone in the state kind of deal. It wasn't like a national show or anything.
All right, but hey, as far as I'm concerned, still a big deal.
Thank you.
And all right, so you've got a lot of other things going on. We've been talking a lot, and really, the reason I brought Joe on today is not just to talk about like this channel. It's not just about physical fitness. It's also about mental health and everything that goes into the journey of life itself. And you've had quite a journey, and I think people should really hear about that.
I appreciate that.
So all right, so we know what you've done, what you've done recently, where a lot of your focus has been your passion. You have your own YouTube channel. Of course, we're going to be including a link to that in the description below, so people can follow your journey. But for you, bodybuilding I know is a big passion. Where did it all start?
Where did it all start? Good question. So, man, really where it started, I would have to say, probably would be like the real roots, maybe when I was like 9 or 10. Not saying that I started bodybuilding at that or had any aspiration to become a bodybuilder.
But that's where the seed was planted.
Yeah, or maybe even earlier. I could even go as far as 7 years old, because throughout most of my life, I really did have weight issues. When I was 7, 8 years old, I was very underweight. I turned like 10, 11. I became very overweight. Hit puberty, again, became extremely underweight. Had a super lightning fast metabolism. And then as I turned 18, 19, my metabolism totally reversed.
Just hit the floor.
Just hit the floor. And then I had to relearn basically my entire body and how to do all this. So just constantly having weight issues and things like that, and trying to gain control of that really did, spark that passion for me with bodybuilding. But I guess the main real origin and root where it really started is when I was 13 years old, because this was at a point where my metabolism was super fast. I was 5'6" and 108 pounds at the time, playing football.
Whoa.
Playing on the 8th grade team, and I just got destroyed every day. I was a human skeleton, honestly. So just getting beat up every single day, I was so tired of it, and that's when I really started getting into weight training and learning how to diet. And then since then, I just floored it. I didn't ever look back.
All right, so in this channel, or on this channel and in a lot of the interviews, I always talk about the ups and downs. And in terms of your weight and your physical composition, you really did have literal ups and downs.
Literal, yes.
Yeah.
Literal, yeah.
Yeah, and there's a lot of those that element in life itself. So did you find that what you were going through in your life, I mean, we all have ups and downs. You know, we all have this, you know, life is this great journey / dance, and it's constant cycle of ebb and flow. And did you find that kind of mirrored, you know, what was going on with your body, or was it just like a separate element involved in what you were doing?
In terms of the bodybuilding itself, or in terms of me realizing like what was going on?
Yeah, in terms of you said a moment ago that you realized you had to take control, you had to do something. Did you know how did that I should say, let me phrase it that way, how did that thought really crystallize in your head?
Really, it started, like I said, when I was like 13. I mean, I obviously had these ups and downs ever since I was like in 3rd grade, but once I was playing football and that became a passion of mine, that's really when it crystallized.
So that was the catalyst.
That was it. I was tired of it, you know. I was tired of having these ups and downs, and playing football, that was like my passion at the time. I loved playing football. I wanted to be, you know, I wanted to be the starting running back and the starting linebacker. So I did everything it possibly took. I started training. I started eating. I started counting my calories. I started cooking for myself at 14 years old.
Wow.
You know, fully by myself. You know, and this past 14 years old, and I cooked all my own food, counted all my calories, my protein, fat, carbohydrate intake. I really got into it because that was the moment where I was like, okay, something has to change. I have the power to do that, and I'm going to do that. So that's really when it hit me, you know.
That is great, because a lot of times people don't take control over their own lives. They don't take control over what they're doing, and that's the slogan for Monster Health and Fitness is get out of your own way. So you literally did that, and you realized that at a young age, and not just a young age, but at really 13, being 14 years old just blows. For everybody, I think.
It's a weird stage.
It's honestly the shittiest part of your life, other than maybe 20. and that I have to commend you. It's a tough time. It's a time when you just want to, you know, hang out with your friends, play video games, maybe get laid if you can manage that. And that's not usually like taking control over your life, over what you put in to your mouth, or what you put into your body, how you compose your body. That is like the last thing on people's minds. And I have to commend you that you really took that level of control.
Thank you.
And I think it would be a big inspiration to a lot of people, especially a lot of young people who'd be watching this, to think that, you know, I don't have to be a victim.
No, you don't. You don't. And a lot of people really do think that their circumstances dictate where, you know, wow, this happened to me and that's the reason I'm this. I have a slow thyroid and that's the reason why I'm fat.
I have a hypermetabolism, I can't change it.
Exactly. Or something happened 6 months ago and that's why the reason I am like that. No, I mean, does it have an effect on what happens? Absolutely. But you always have the power to change that. And you always, no matter what circumstance happens to you or wherever you may go in life, there's always one. It doesn't matter how devastating it is. It doesn't matter how negative it is. You can always find one positive thing in any situation, and you can always choose to look at the negative, whether that's 98% of the situation, or look at the positive, focus on that, which may be even 1 or 2% of the situation, but you really have the power to choose where
That's
you're
such
going.
a cliche,
it's
but
true.
it's so true.
It's so true, right? It's just, oh, you're corny. No, it's not.
Yeah.
It's really true. Whatever happens, there's always a positive in it, and if you focus on that, and you're not a product of your circumstance, but you realize that you are in control, fully control of your life and who you are as a person, that's when you're really going to start to be happy and really fulfill the maximum you can be as a person, in my opinion.
I'm trying to remember who it was. You and I both listen to a lot of business guys, motivational speakers, and we've talked about it a lot. Do you remember who it was that said, you are the deciding factor? Somebody said that. I hear it in my head right now. It's like, you are the deciding factor. Do you remember who that was? Is that Jocko Willenick? Well, I want somebody out there to look it up and leave a comment down below.
It sounds familiar.
It does sound familiar.
Off the top of my head, I'm not. Yeah.
But that's exactly what comes to mind when you're saying that. When you're listening to your story, your example. You are the deciding factors. Just that theme that just keeps like flashing in my head, and I hope other people can get that impression. So, all right. So you had ups and downs in terms of your body, in terms of you taking control over it. You started competing recently, obviously. So now, is that like all you're doing? What else do you have going on?
It's a lot bigger than that. So let me get into it a little bit more. So
Please.
I've always been, and I'm not sitting here like being cocky or I'm better than anybody else or whatever the case may be, but my personality and who I am as a person is I'm a very like driven person. If there's something that I want, I don't ever feel that you should be distracted from that. You really should be putting 100% of whatever you're doing into something. Okay? And if you don't, and you don't have that passion in life, and you don't have something that you're really going all out in, you might as well be dead. And then, you know, that's my opinion.
No, I'm with you on that.
You know, and I see so many people that are miserable and they don't have anything to live for, or they think they don't have anything to live for, more or less. And they're just meandering through life. And I just think if you don't have something to put 100% into, then you might as well stop. And that's why, you know, when I was 13, 14 years old and working out, I never, ever, and still to this day, will never pick up my phone in the gym unless I'm changing my song. That's it. I will not text. I will not look at my phone. It even started when I was 14 years old, 13 years old. I just never did it because I was so focused on that. So with bodybuilding, that was everything. Okay, bodybuilding, when I competed in my first show last year, in 2017, I really dedicated like everything to that show. And my placing, I placed 7 out of 8 people. Okay, so it was a very big upset for me. Did not look anything how I wanted to. I had a coach at the time, and for anyone who's not really familiar with bodybuilding, it's very common to get a diet coach or you know to really bring you in, because it's different. Anyone can get really, you know, lean, but to be able to get on stage at that low of body fat percentage, for most people does require a coach. So got my coach, placed 7 out of 8 people, really putting everything I had into that, and then that upset destroyed me. So I remember I put a post on Instagram, literally the next day, went to the gym, did my hour of cardio, trained, and I said, I am now 365 days out from my next competition. That's it. I'm going to, the next show, I'm going to bring a literal different person. So every day from that point, most people, you know, if they're focusing on a show, they'll just, you know, they'll 12 weeks out or 16 weeks out of the show, that's when they'll really start to it was the next day. I did not care. I was like, this is that's what it was.
That was a spark for you, that loss. So that, you know, people often think of like the loss, the negative, and then they need time to bounce from that. Or if they bounce from that, I suffered this big loss, I'm not getting back up. You didn't really. No, that wasn't a thought in your head.
No, I was like, this is. I'm gonna totally.
You're just gonna do better.
Exactly. I'm gonna blow out what I just did, and and my focus was I was gonna win the show, and do as best as I possibly could to bring a next level physique to the next year. So that's what I did every day, and there's never a day in the gym I could say I could have done one more rep, I could have done one more set, because I couldn't have. I know that in my heart, and that really fulfilled me. So I did that every single day, prepared for this competition, got to the point where my body fat was so low and I was eating so few calories that I felt sick, like I had the flu every single day, to the point where even laying down on the couch, I'm in pain because of how starving and low energy I am, because I felt like I had the flu every day at some point. You know, as a bigger guy eating 1,500 calories, doing 2 hours of cardio every day, you get pretty messed up.
Your body's running on a deficit.
Literally, yes. Yeah. I mean, I don't think I could have done another week, honestly, of that kind of torture to myself. So I really put everything into that. And as I just explained, that's really just my whole main focus on life. If there's something you're going to do, you have to, at least in my opinion, I'm going to put 100% into it, because you could get hit by a bus tomorrow. And if you're laying on your deathbed, are you going to have any regrets, or you're not? You know, or you're going to be able to say, I put everything into who I was as a person. So with that being said, coming from 7th out of 8th place, I placed first place in 2 different categories and second in the next. And I mean, I don't have a picture. You guys can see it on my channel for yourself.
Everything is going to be down below. His Instagram, YouTube.
What I've changed in the matter of 11 months. But that's really what I put everything into. Now after bodybuilding, okay, this was 6 weeks ago, something I'm also passionate about too as well is financial freedom, okay? And that's what I'm putting all of that focus into now. I'm not saying I'm not going to work out or I'm not going to, you know, eat right or anything like that. That's not true, but
that's just who you are.
That's just who I am as a person. I love bodybuilding. That's my passion. I'm never that part of me will never go away.
And eating clean, it's the thought of eating messy.
Yeah,
the thought of eating like a big plate of, like, you know, Cool Whip covered pancakes with chocolate syrup just like makes your pancreas crawl.
I wouldn't even say that, honestly, because I love bad food, but the thing is that I moderate it, okay? Because I love food. I would eat a giant stack of pancakes and I would be in love, but to not have the control over that, when you spiral out of control and you start eating worse and worse, that's
and
when
then
you
wake up feeling like crap.
Yes.
So that is like who you are. You are a healthy person. You are always going to be fit. You're always going to be built. That's always you. Mm-hmm. So financial freedom, what's next in that
financial freedom. So back in 2015, I kind of stumbled across Forex trading. Mm-hmm. I was in college. I was in community college, and I realized at this point that it just was not for me. Mm-hmm. There was no career that I could sit through school and say, I want to do that when I get out. There was nothing. I didn't want to be a doctor. I didn't want to be a lawyer. Mm-hmm. There was nothing that I was like, I really want to do this, and school requires this. And to me, it was kind of just a waste of my time, honestly. So I found Forex trading. Which, for those of you who don't know, it's basically currency trading. So you trade, U.S. dollars for Swiss francs, etc. Mm-hmm. Learned how to do that, and I became good at it. But I quickly realized that you do need a large sum of money to be able to trade effectively, and it's a little different from the stock market. So I had to put that on hold, really, because I didn't have the funds to support that. Bodybuilding came along, I did that, but now my real focus is financial freedom, and I'll tell you why. More or less. I see a lot of people, and especially in the last coming years, it's really hit me. For one, my dad, he's worked for his job. He works a quote-unquote a very good job as compared to most people out there. He's in a union. He gets a pension, once he retires, full retirement and all that stuff. He makes good money, a lot of overtime, et cetera, right? But now that I'm seeing that he's getting older, he's 57 years old, he can retire now, but living in New York State, your pension does not even pay for you to live. How sad is that? You go to a job every day, whether you hate it or you love it, whatever the case may be, you're actually physically tied down to the amount of money that you can make per hour or per year, unless you get minimal raises and things like that. Your employer is basically telling you, hey, your life in a dollar amount is valued at this per hour.
Right.
Your life, to me, is worth $15 an hour, worth $30 an hour, worth $80 an hour, $100 an hour.
And right away, that job has to be worth more if they're going to pay you that and still make a profit.
Exactly.
It's just simple. That's not the vile shanks of capitalism. That's just economics.
Exactly. And I really realized this is that a lot of people come out of school, they still can't find jobs. They blew tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of dollars in debt. And they can't find a job, and they make as much or even less than I do now, working
shackled
like a BS job.
Yeah.
Exactly. And really, and just the last year really has hit me hard. I don't anymore, but I was working a security job. I was doing overnights, and I was working the midnight shift, so from 12 a.m. to 8 a.m. And coming home every day, I would drive eastbound on the LIE, which is the opposite way of basically rush hour traffic. And just seeing all the thousands and thousands and thousands of people just miserable, sitting in gridlock traffic, forced to be there for none other reason other than they need to support themselves. They're forced to be there. It's not like someone just wakes up out of bed and says, hey, I want to sit in traffic for 3 hours today. Nobody wants to do that.
I want to meet the one person statistically has to.
It's one person.
There has to be statistically one person who enjoys it.
I'd like to meet you because that's crazy. But you see all of those people, and they're forced to be there, and there's very few amount of people that do love their job, but most people don't. Right? Most people actually hate their job, and you're going to your job every day, forced to sit in hours of traffic, waste your life. Your employer is telling you how much your life is valued in a dollar amount per hour. You're tied to a fixed income, which means there's very minimal growth. Maybe you get a promotion and you get $2 more an hour every 2 years or whatever the case may be, or a little bonus here and there. You have no control over when you can take off for vacation. Your boss pretty much tells you can and can't take off here. You're tied to the amount of sick time that you have. You're basically tied down to the amount of time that you could spend with your family. Your whole life is controlled, basically.
And you're exhausted by the time you get home. I know for me, for a couple of years, I wasn't in the health and fitness industry. I had gone back to doing the 9-to-5 thing, and just taking care of my kid and cooking and cleaning, I had like 20 minutes to myself, and then I went to bed and did it all over again.
Yep. and just think about that. You're miserable Monday through Friday, right? Monday you get up for work, you're sitting in traffic for 3 hours, and then you go to work, and then you got to do all this.
It's largely the same day until Friday.
Every day. And you're miserable every single day. And then what happens on the weekend? You got to go out and drink and party on Saturday because you're so miserable every other single day.
Or you got to squeeze in all the errands you couldn't finish on the weeknights.
Exactly.
Because you were too tired.
Right? And then Monday comes, and you're like, oh, it's Monday. And then Tuesday, all right, almost there. Wednesday, oh, it's almost Friday. Thursday, oh, it's almost Friday. Friday comes, right? You go out, you have fun. Maybe you have fun on Saturday if you don't have to run all your errands. And then Sunday, you're miserable again because tomorrow is Monday. And then it's just a repetitive cycle. Every single day until you're 55, 65, where you retire. You get a pension, which, sorry, your pension still doesn't pay for your bills. So now you got to still work until the day you're dead. And you're miserable every single day.
So what's your solution?
So my solution was, I'm going to take control of my life. I don't want to be that person. And if you are, hey, listen, I'm not bashing that. If you love your job, and
if you love your job, more power to you.
That's what I mean. If you are truly the few percent of people that love your job, keep doing it. That's awesome. Not a lot of people have that. Yeah. But for me, there was nothing I saw that I would really love doing. So I decided to open up my own business. Okay, I really went into it, and I'm going to take that same intensity and passion that I had with bodybuilding and translate that towards a business where I can build financial freedom and have the, hopefully I'm praying with hard work and all that in my 30s I can retire, so I don't have to bow down to an employer when I could take off or when I could see my family. I have total financial freedom and a total free schedule to pretty much pick and choose what I want to do and not have money control me. Right. I want to have my money work for me and live I don't want to say stress-free because there's no such thing as stress-free, but a less stressful life where I have more of a choice and I am taking control.
All right, so there's so much.
That's a lot.
Yeah, no, there's so much in that. A lot of people would say like, all right, so he's talking about how miserable I am, because I know a lot of people are going to relate to that. Where's he going with this? What Joe just set up was part of the why, and there was oh shoot, I'm drawing a blank again. I'm hearing the words, but I'm not seeing the face. Is that you could be just as motivated to run towards something as away from something, and a lot of times the thing that really, I think it was Gary Vee, the thing that really gets people going is not so much the carrot, but the stick hitting behind. And that, exactly what Joe described so vividly, by the way, of that just long slog to work, to drudgery, to what people hate doing, to the lack of passion, that is something to run away from. But not run away in terms of as a recovering addict, and not in terms of hitting the bottle or the needle or whatever you were doing to avoid the issue. Just like when you were a kid and you realized there's something in my way, I need to get around it, I need to work through it, I need to overcome it. And that is, again, commendable, and that's the attitude. And I want to, again, touch on what you said. If you love your job, if you love what you do, if the idea of not having a stable fixed income, if the idea of flying by the seat of your pants, if the idea of taking risks and jumping out of the plane terrifies the hell out of you, stay in what you're doing. Because as Gary Vee, we've talked about Gary Vaynerchuck a lot, as he says, there are so many people who get into entrepreneurship because they think it's sexy. He says, I don't know where the hell this came from, and I wish it never happened, because there's so many people who are going to go out into it. I think, what did he say? He knows like 3 people commit suicide a year. Personally,
really,
personally, because they failed their business and they were never meant to be entrepreneurs. But what you and I have talked about before, and what you can hear in Joe, and what I hope I've put across too, is that when your mindset, when your makeup is to be independent and to go and to do and to take those risks, it's torture to not.
Couldn't have explained it any better. Couldn't.
Okay.
I really couldn't. That's the words couldn't have come out better.
Well, I think they did.
Yeah.
I think they did, and that's really the reason. That's why, if you notice, I didn't do like a big intro. Normally, I have like at least a 30-second to a minute lead in with the person I'm interviewing. I didn't do that with Joe. Because it's just like, you know what, screw it, let's just talk, because you really have the setup. And I love how it's not what you do. It's not so easily encapsulated. So do you want to talk about exactly what kind of business you're getting into?
Absolutely, yeah. So what I'm doing personally is like a social media marketing business. So my niche, or the people that I'm specifically focusing on, are cosmetic surgeons, just for the fact that you can do anybody, right? You can run social media and, people's website and stuff for restaurants. You can do it for haircutting businesses. You can do it for anyone. You can do it for everyone. But it's better to specialize in one group of people just because you get to know.
Find a tribe.
Exactly.
Seth Godin.
Exactly. You know the demographics of who is going to that business, where they are, what age they are, how often, they're coming, what the price range typically is, what let's say for the cosmetic surgeons, what are they doing? What type of people are they, right? I'm not going to probably run a social media for someone who is like a phone tech place. Maybe you would, but they're probably going to know more about computers and more about advertising and things like that than a doctor would, right? And they don't have as much time. And that's it, and again, with cosmetic surgery, it's not like you're running a sandwich shop where you're making $8 a customer. If you're getting a breast augmentation or a nose job, you expect to shell out $6, $7, $8 grand. So you're getting them one client. So you get them 4 clients a month. They're willing to pay you a decent amount of money for you to be able to bring them in more clients, running through all their social media, running through making sure their email lists are up to date, running contests, running their backstory, which is super important. Not too many people do, which is basically, what separates them, what their brand story is, and developing that through all their social media. That's such an important aspect, is to have that creativity to really drive people and hook people. So it's something that I'm good at because I'm a fairly creative person, and I am fairly good with social media. So it's something that I really want to do to take on, and just the next challenge in life.
I hope everybody just took notes, because what you got from Joe just now was a free class in social media marketing. No, I'm dead serious, because what you do is you specify what your niche is going to be, why you need a niche in the first place, some of the thoughts behind it, some of the pros and cons. And again, there could be people, and this is something because obviously Joe is focused on the physical. He knows it. He's engaged in it, and it's just cosmetic surgery is one side of the physical, of the physical person. It's something else. So it almost, like that Venn diagram, almost kind of touches what you've already done. So there's a connection there. It really is. I mean, if somebody just is all about food, all they do is eat, and you wanted to do something like social media marketing, I would tell someone, walk up and down, go into your local village, go into the town like Huntington or Babylon, just go into restaurants. Say, I'm going to run your social media marketing because I know food. And I like how you even frame that. I'm not going to go to a tech place because they'll know more about tech than me. The idea of social media marketing, as we've talked about it before, is to take that off the plate of people who just need to run their business. They need social media marketing done, and now is a great time. So many of the great business minds, Gary Vee, Tai Lopez, Brian Rose, like all these people are constantly telling people social media marketing needs to be done. You're on the crest of a wave of something big. This isn't trendy stuff, this isn't like making asbestos sleepwear in the 70s. This is something that really has to be there and really needs to be there. And as Tai Lopez has said, we've talked about this too.
I run my program through Tai Lopez. That's how I learned from him. So,
okay, yeah.
I did do his program. It's really legit. I've learned a lot. Yeah. Believe me. And as I said before, even if you did have a social media marketing and you had, you were running your own social media, there's a lot of things that people don't know. Yeah. Even if you are keen into social media, there's little tips and tricks and things that these guys know that you don't know.
And it's going to be different for a personal account than a business account.
Completely different.
Yeah. And and like you said, campaigns and story and like everything that goes into it. All right, so you've got an education in it. And you saw where the market was going. You saw that there's going to be a need, and honestly, there's going to be a need for a long, long time. How long did it take some businesses to get a website up?
Yeah, very long time.
And that's been, and we're talking like we're going back 20 plus, almost 30 years since websites really became, mainstream.
Somewhere in the 90s,
yeah, somewhere in the 90s, and people are just getting their websites up and running now.
Crazy.
So to think that people aren't doing that, so it's a huge opportunity, and that's something I say again. Make sure you took notes on everything he just said. Rewatch it, because it sets up not just exactly what he's said he's going to do, but the paradigm, the framework that you just laid out, I think was a very generous gift to anyone who's paying attention.
Of course, seriously. If you're willing to take the time to watch this video and learn and rethink not only your life, but what you're doing with your life, right? You're not just going through the motions. You're actually doing things that are making you happy. If you're willing to sit there and take the time to really watch this and let all this sink in, it's my pleasure, honestly.
So you've had some literal ups and downs. You've done some really, I would say, incredible things with your life, and you did it in a way that fit your you followed your passions to something that really enlivened you, that you can, and then said, okay, well, obviously that's not going to support me in the long term. Looked ahead, something that would follow the trend, reduced your ego, came at it with a little humility, like, what do I need to learn? Got the education needed, not necessarily from a school. And I try very hard not to bash school publicly on this channel, but usually when the camera's off, I get pretty hard on it because, like you said, shackled with debt, what kind of job can you get? It's a really poor investment. I'm just going to say it flat out. So everything this man has done with his young life at this point, I think is a good model and a good paradigm to follow. And again, Joe, thank you very much for agreeing to this interview and setting a good example for other young people to come right behind. And so I really want you to just take more than inspiration. I want you to take take some notes, man. Take some chapters out of his book. I know it's a short book, I know he's in his early 20s. He's such a youngin'. 22, my God, I feel so old right now. But that is something I think, and honestly, Gary Vee's talked about it before. If you're 50, if you're 60, and you're ready to go out and do something, go do it.
Yep.
Because tomorrow will be too late.
It's very true. It's very true. And one thing I just want to say before we cut all this off is, I know not a lot of people are going to be as nuts in the head as I am. just being honest, like, there's not that many people that are just laser focused, dedicated, and very obsessed on one thing. That's just my personality. And as you said before, right, I mean, we're kind of similar in the fact that if I wasn't going all out and laser focused on one thing, really trying to improve, to the best of my ability every day, I would become severely depressed. Honestly, I would. And there's been days where I've maybe slacked a little bit, or I could have did a little more, and I actually noticed myself getting a little depressed. Okay. Honestly.
All right. So then that's not just me.
No, seriously, I will notice myself getting very depressed if I'm not that's why.
If you could have done more.
For me personally, and I'm not bashing anyone who does, I can't understand people that are failing their exams or doing poorly in life and what their goals are, and then still going out on the weekends and drinking. Because if that was me, I would just be a wreck.
You have nothing to celebrate.
Yeah, exactly. I would just, if I'm not right where I need to be, I just can't, there's just an unjust feeling inside of me. But what I want to make clear is that even if you're not a psychopath like I am, and so laser focused in one thing that I need to be the best at this, and I'm going to do this no matter what. I don't care if I'm, the only thing that's going to beat me to this goal is death. If you're not that kind of person, at least do something that is going to make you happy. That's what I'm reiterating with the whole 9 to 5 sitting in traffic, being miserable every single day. Even at my new job, it's funny because all the guys I work basically in a supply company now, so all the guys in the warehouse are cursing at each other and screaming at each other and calling each other names, just joking around. Right. But there's a hint of seriousness to it. You almost hear sometimes I hear my boss say, "Oh, I hate this effing place, and I seriously hate this effing place. I'm dead serious." Blah blah blah. And you'll hear him say that a couple times, and just reinforcing that negative over and over and over again is going to make you miserable. Yeah. Okay, so if you're in a position in life where you're working a job where you're sitting in traffic for hours on end and you're constantly being negative, and you try to listen to your words, because that's a very important thing. Your thoughts and what you're speaking is very, 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 it will determine your whole life, honestly. Your thoughts and what you verbally say to people will program your mind to think and act a certain way. So if you notice you're sitting in traffic, or you're going to a job that you hate every single day, and all these negative thoughts and words are coming out associating with your life, there needs to be a change. If you are one of those people that loves getting up every single day and going to your job and being passionate, great, you're in the right place, you're doing exactly what you need to do. But if you're not, you need to make a change, because the rest of your life is going to be just that, negative thoughts and words. And
that's no way to live.
There's no way to live. It's not.
So. All right. Well, you heard it here. He's got the passion, he's got the focus, he's got the drive. And I honestly, and I say this from the bottom of my heart with all sincerity, if you could extract a little bit of this young man's focus and drive, you'll be fine.
Appreciate it.
Joe, I
Thank you
appreciate
so
the
much.
interview. Thank you very much.
Anytime at all.
All right, so from Joe Brennan and Monster Health and Fitness, we're here to tell you, get out of your own way.
It's true.
Take care, everybody.
Bye-bye.